This is one of the monthly recommendations from Crocs. We're going to jump right into this. This is going to be a bunch of very old videos about engineering that I have a feeling will kind of freak me out because engineering in general freaks me out as an English major. Vacuum control, which I have no idea what this is, but I'm assuming it has something to do with planes just because of the pattern I see. And robot arms in American European doors. This last one will scare me for the same reason Lockpicking Lawyer did, won't it? Let's find out. I just paused it. 1936. We're getting close to this video being over 100 years old. Spinning letters. Oh, this is by Chevrolet Motor. Oh, this is Chevy. Whoa.
Meet Mr. Archimedes of ancient Greece. Long ago, Archie said,
a lever?
Give me a lever long enough and I can move the world.
What a...
Oh, sorry, the animation style here. It's like every little movement of the lips is hyper asphyxiated. I know what I said there too. Like, look at that.
Long enough and I can move the world.
What are...
It's like they're trying to capture the exact correct motions for the lips, as opposed to what a lot of people do, where now animation is just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, maybe an O every now and again when, for a surprise face when you animate facial expressions.
Archimedes meant was that the power of a lever is practically unlimited. Today, almost everyone uses some form of lever in his daily...
Dude! I haven't even seen one of these in years. The old can openers, not even the twisting ones, but the actual cutting the can. I don't even know how to use this thing. Oh.
The familiar can opener is a lever.
It is so old that what they're talking about is familiar is literally still ancient and historic.
With a sharp cutting edge. The playground seesaw is just a simple lever too.
No, this is a machine of torture and ass destruction. And if you're not doing it that way, you're doing it wrong. If your goal on a seesaw is not to assert dominance by breaking your friend in horrible, horrible ways that they will remember in therapy and traction, you have done this wrong. It's like going on the swings and not trying to kick anyone around and jump and maybe Koopa them. I know what I said.
It takes a lot of force to start a freight car moving. Yet, the railroad man can start the heaviest freight cars easily with a pinch bar.
I'm sorry. They had to start freight trains by hand. Is this something that still happens now? Or is... I don't... That is... I did not know about this.
A powerful lever which turns the wheel.
They had to start rolling them.
Here's a place where a lever...
Okay, at least a jack for a car is something I do know about and is still around. That just... Okay.
Comes in mighty handy. Let's take the simplest kind of lever. A rigid bar working on a fixed support called a fulcrum. One end of this lever is twice as long as the other. Let's put a 10-pound weight on this end, and now we'll put half as much weight on this end. 5 pounds, balance 10.
Yep.
If we have 25 pounds to lift, we just use a longer lever. The 5 pounds will now balance 5 times as much. Let's raise the lever in the air, change its shape a little, and we have a crank. Or we can add a second lever and have a double crank.
I guess they're not yanking my chain or cranking this one, but goddamn. Also, Bill mentioned in the chat, just love watching me learn history. And Taryn, you have a similar can opener in your home. Here's the thing. I do too. I got it from my mom. My mom got it from her mom. Her mom probably actually did use it because I think she lived in a house that didn't have electricity. They had it in the area, just not in her family house. I think they were somewhere in Mississippi of all places that just was really, no, not Mississippi, Missouri. That was just kind of rural in the sense of outhouses were nice and new.
Now the short arm moves 1/4 the distance, but we get 4 times the force. If we want continuous motion, we need more arms.
And here we have the entirety of spikes
turn.
or spokes.
The larger paddle wheel makes fewer turns, but it delivers more force.
And I'm pretty sure this is the entire logic behind any type of geared transmission. Yeah, that's what we're literally what we're doing. I was going to say a windmill or just like force being moved through various gears to get something done, because I was thinking paddle wheels as well as actually paddle wheel probably works exactly this because it would be a form of a transmission, just moving water instead of moving wheels.
A paddle wheel is nothing but a never-ending series of levers. We can make the wheels stronger and lessen friction where the wheels touch each other by rounding off the edges and shaping them into teeth that will slide in and out smoothly. Now, the power flows smoothly and continuously through spinning leverage of gear wheels. Gears are made in many kinds and many sizes.
Yep. And also, this is just kind of cool because you could tell the entire point of this thing here. If it goes up, it moves with it. If it goes down, it catches, so it's an immediate stop, so it doesn't go the wrong way.
Sizes. Little gears, big gears, worm gears.
I guess you could say this really grinds their gears.
Bevel gears.
I'm not going to apologize for that one.
And even lopsided gears.
Wait, what? Wait, lopsided gears are an actual thing? Okay. That's... I thought those were novelty pieces. I didn't realize they were actually useful.
Over 100 million gears are spinning
Dude,
over the
old
road
cars.
in the transmissions of our automobiles.
Very old cars, but honestly, I think I've seen buses like that that are probably exactly that old, still in use.
The transmission is located right at the bottom of the gear shift lever.
Just going to acknowledge right now, I don't know how to use a gear shift. I've tried. I nearly destroyed a historic car's transmission. I was told never to try again.
Let's start from scratch and put together a model of the gears that we shift in our motor car. The shaft on the left comes from the engine. The shaft on the right carries the power back to the rear wheels. To connect these two with gears, we'll need another shaft, known as a counter shaft.
I'm just looking at all these shafts on screen right now. I was like, ooh, do I have to censor this? It's even uncapped, man.
These two gears carry the power from the engine shaft to the counter shaft and are always connected or in mesh. This gear on the drive shaft going to the wheels is free to turn around the shaft. We'll put it in mesh with another gear on the counter shaft. These gears are always in mesh and keep turning while the engine is running. To switch from one set of gears to another, our transmission needs a short shaft like this, known as a clutch sleeve.
So when they're talking a gear shift, they're actually initially talking about moving into completely separate gears on the wheels then. Also, according to Golden, lopsided ones are meant for cyclical motion rather than constant motion. Oh, okay.
It cannot turn on the drive shaft, but it is free to slide back and forth.
What?
On the sleeve, we'll mount a large gear, which we can shift back and forth to mesh with the small gear in the middle of the counter shaft. We are now in neutral. The gears that are always in mesh are turning over with the engine.
Oh, I see. So it's, these are the, when they say they're in neutral, these gears are the ones that just keep spinning regardless, and then how you want to move power forward is the gear that moves in and out.
But the shaft to the rear wheels is standing still. A 3,000-pound automobile takes a lot of force to start. So in low speed, we get the greatest leverage by letting the smallest gear on the counter shaft turn the largest gear on the drive shaft. The engine on this model is running at a...
And this is why you can have a lot of engine going really fast. You hear that thing spinning up, and your car is just kind of slowly creeping. That makes sense in hindsight.
Constant speed of 90...
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Airier Learns Obvious Things that are so old that he actually didn't realize they were obvious. Yeah.
revolutions a minute. With low gears in mesh, the rear wheel is turning at 30 revolutions a minute, about a third the speed of the engine,
I wonder what they're
but
going to
with 3 times.
I wonder if they're going to do something weird, like talking about the high speed of cars hitting a whole 50 miles an hour. Just laughs in West Virginia driving. Or Detroit driving. If you know what I'm talking about, don't acknowledge it online.
Times the force. The power is going through these gears in the transmission. After we've started the car rolling, we want fast pickup. So we shift into second by sliding the sleeve backward to mesh with this gear on the shaft to the rear wheels. The wheel is now turning at 60 revolutions a minute, and the power flows through these gears. For higher speeds, we let the power go directly to the rear wheels. We shift the sleeve forward so that it meshes with the shaft from the engine. The power travels straight from the engine to the drive shaft.
That would be 3 gears on the shaft. How complicated do full arrays look like, though? Also, wait, automatic gear shifting just has some other systems manage it instead of the driver? Yep. It's also why I don't ever want to try and drive a stick, because that would involve me remembering things. Yeah! Also, up until reliable, continuously variable transmission designs were developed, this is how gearshifts worked in all cars. And Orr mentioned, I remember stuff like that at the Kids Museum in Wiseman Institute of Science. I got to use them, including a big Archimedes screw. I don't even know what an Archimedes screw is, but that sounds awesome. Or is it like the water raising one where you just turn it around and the water comes up with it? I think I've seen those. They're pretty cool, if I'm thinking of the right thing.
Now the shaft to the wheels is turning at 90 revolutions a minute. The same speed as the engine. But here's a problem. An automobile must be able to go backward as well as forward. So we add one more set of gears to reverse the shaft to the rear wheels. With the gears shifted into reverse, the power travels through the transmission in a path like this. We now have 3 sets of spinning levers for going forward, and
because this one's not currently engaged, so it can spin in time with this one, because it spins on top of the bar, where this bar is directly connected, so it always spins in time. Okay, yeah. I think I see how this works out.
one for reverse. With a gear shift.
Now, I know everything I just said is what was already explained, but as the levels of complexity are being added on, I like to keep reminding myself how they work so I don't lose a step based on all the steps covering it, at least as far as my memory goes.
Lever, we can shift to any set of gears we wish.
Also, according to Taryn, I was thinking of the right thing. Well, damn. Me actually knowing the right thing and remembering it right off the bat. That is not normal. Weirder things happen, apparently.
But with all these spinning levers in the transmission came noise and wear.
Yeah.
Experts could shift gears quietly by careful timing of the gear shift and the engine speeds, but most of us made plenty of noise until new engineering developments made possible the long series of improvements that followed.
Oh?
When we shifted gears, we got a clash because the gears were not running at the same speed. In other words, not synchronized. So engineers set to work to develop a synchronizer. The synchronizer works like a cork twisted into the top of a bottle. The cork will turn until it is so tight that the bottle turns with it. Synchro mesh works the same way. When we shift into second or high, the synchronizer brings the gears to the same speed before they come together.
I had no idea about this. I thought the car just auto-spun things up automatically, but I'm thinking more of automatic transmissions and way more technology to do something. But this is not a computer doing it. This is just something that works on a very physical medium to do exactly the same thing. God damn. This is all, like, the transmission, the gears, I kind of got an idea about that. This part, I had no idea about whatsoever.
The drums won't let the gears shift unless they are turning at the same speed. When the gears come together, there is no clash and the shift is made quietly and easily. In the transmission of the up-to-date automobile, we have a powerful low gear to give us a strong spinning leverage in starting.
Yeah.
A fast-turning motor.
And considering how heavy cars used to be, that was even more important. Modern cars are honestly incredibly light by comparison to what most of them would be. There's a lot less steel used, a lot more aluminum, and just plastic framing everywhere, man.
Must set the weight of the car in motion. In second speed, we can change leverage to get going fast at the same engine speed. With the leverage of third gear, power goes directly to the rear wheels, and we can go as fast as we want. Now, every driver can shift gears at any time.
And they're also talking about cars that explicitly only have 3 gears, where most modern cars now just have, like, what, 7, 8 gears? I don't even remember how many are on my shifter, because even though my car does it automatically, it still displays which one it's in. So, yeah, there's a lot more than even exists right now. So the entire transmission we saw is the very uncomplicated version of what now would exist in most cars.
Regardless of speed. Here is a hill that will give us a real chance to see how smoothly and reliably our spinning levers work in our automobile transmission. This driver is going to let her car gain a speed of 6.
Can we all just acknowledge I want to bring back these hats? I think they look stupid, but it's the kind of stupid I approve of. Wearing a suit everywhere? Fuck that.
60 miles an hour down the hill.
I'm sorry, what did they say about 16 miles?
A speed of 60 transmission. This driver is going to let her car gain a speed of 60 miles an hour down the hill.
Also known as going slow. I stand by my statement. My God, look at the speed, the power.
Then she will shift into second speed and bring her car easily and safely under control before it reaches the bottom of the hill.
So she was engine braking. Okay. See, that's actually something I know is still a possibility, but I've never really seen most people do that. Yeah, Golden, she says 16 or 60? 60. What she did there, and I don't think they're covering, is most people, when you're stopping because you're putting your foot on the brake. Here, though, she's shifting into a higher gear to reduce the power, and then probably applying the brake on top of it. This is something I know a lot of trucks do, where they do engine braking over brake pads. So they'll actually shift into a gear where there's just less energy, and it actually slows the wheel down because it's trying to match that without being in neutral. But there's a lot of other reasons not to do that, mostly because people like me would probably destroy their engine if they tried to do that more actively. Cool area to drive, though. Jam handy. That sounds like an innuendo. That legitimately sounds like an innuendo. It's like, hey, so do you get that new Jam Handy production? Yeah. Oh, God. And next up, we have how differential steering works. 1 year later in 37. Oh, God. Another Chevy, too. Around the corner. Just by Jam Handy. Oh, God, that's such a horrible name. We wish to express our appreciation to the riders of Victory McLaglen, star of the M-Former, and other famous... I don't know what any of these are. And Valentine, or Valerian, this looks like the lockpicking lawyer April Fool's video, except they're completely legitimate. Oh, this was the movie in the background. Cooperation during the filming of this picture. What? Because the entire shtick here would be just the motorcycle stunts, or the coordination of it. Are these just cops on bikes doing organized bike dancing? I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but it's kind of what it looks like. Okay, that's impressive. I would die. That's still impressive. It's been 100 years. A little short of that. Maybe like closer to 89 years. But I would still die if I tried this. That requires balance. And not fucking up. Two things I don't have. Differential steering. Probably something to keep the steering more level then. Okay, that trick was a little impressive, if only because I'm used to so many people weaving like that already in traffic. And all I can say is, oh, hey, look at that. Synchronized biking. Necro, that is definitely the right choice. Oh my god. It's like, it's so old. It looks old as hell, but at the same time, it's still kind of impressive. Mostly because I know I couldn't do that. And by that, I mean balancing on the bike. And the rest of it too. Motor skills, Kryn? Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, God. So is this entire thing just demonstrating what you can do if the bike is moving correctly? Actually, I have an idea what's going on here because right now they're showing when you have your hands off the handlebar, it can still maintain a very steady pace forward, which is how most bikes work because of how they're balanced, and most motorcycles probably work because they're held in that same way. I do know, though, if you really fuck with the wheel position and you make the handlebars too heavy, specifically the connecting piece, maybe extend them too far forward, they become so incredibly heavy, going straight easily becomes very different. I'm not sure if that's where we're going on this one, but it might be.
Formations like these require long hours of intensive drilling and careful judgment. When the troop goes around the corner,
I don't.
The riders on the outside of the turn have to adjust their speed to keep even with the riders on the inside. The man on the outside has to ride a lot farther and a lot faster in order to keep up with the parade.
Yep. This is also the entire concept of centrifugal and centrifugal force. Although I think centrifugal is the correct one. Taryn, you want me to read your comment aloud? They just buy the hat in that style and wear it. You may even restart the trend in your local area if luck allows. No, that would involve people looking at my trends and going, ooh, should not avoid that. As opposed to normally, it's like, ah, God, run away. It's a simple thing that keeps happening.
The outside wheels must spin faster than the wheels on the inside because they have a greater distance to travel in the same length of time.
Oh, no, what they're talking about is how you can have the two wheels match up. So your car automatically would have the inner wheel on a turn going slower and the outer wheel going faster, so you don't immediately brake your car by turning. Okay, that's how front-wheel drive probably works. Because if it's rear-wheel drive, no one would care. No, wait, they would still need to turn at different speeds, wouldn't they? Huh. Also, or I'm going to pull up your comment. 1, thank you very much. 2, Tom Lear, satirist musician who wrote the satirical songs of the 60s, recently died, and he put all of his songs in the public domain. I could react to them, yeah. I'm not sure if I will, if only because I'm not good about music. And I have no idea who he is, but I'd like to check it out just because the fact that someone actually put their work in public domain means it's worth checking out regardless. God damn.
When a wagon turns a corner, the wheels can travel at different speeds.
Because they're not tied into
because
something
each
together.
one can turn freely on the axles. And in the early automobiles, the rear wheels turned separately and only one wheel was connected to the engine.
Wait, what?
But
Oh, I actually didn't know that. So the initial cars, 3 wheels were for stability, only 1 wheel drove. Oh. Also, Golden, centrifugal and centripetal force, technically they're not real forces, but it's whatever force points towards the center of the circle. Yep. Although saying they're not real forces is kind of weird just because if they act in a way and we describe it, maybe we're just using the words wrong, but I know the actual way to describe it is the force is just being thrown out or thrown in, giving orientation so it looks like gravity to an outside observer, but wrong words for the same effect.
When only one wheel was driven by the engine, it had to do all the work, and it couldn't get a good enough grip on the road to do its job properly.
Yeah.
So the one-wheel drive was soon out of date. But if two wheels are locked on an axle so that they are not free to turn separately, one or the other has to slide. So engineers had to find a way to connect both rear wheels to the engine without sliding and slipping on turns. The device which makes this possible is a part of the rear axle.
Oh shit, that's what that is? See, here's the thing. I've looked under cardboard because my entire family is a bunch of gearheads. And they did raise cars up on, admittedly in hindsight, stands that were not meant to be raised up as high as they were for me to actually be able to undersee this kind of stuff, but they did anyways. Duct tape might have been involved. So I've seen these kind of parts between the axles holding them together. I figured this was just a really nice way for everything to be welded together. I didn't realize it actually did anything, which in hindsight is stupid considering everything going on through the entire shafts over here is what moves around.
It is called the differential because it can drive the rear wheels at different speeds. The differential looks complicated.
Yes.
But once we understand its principle, it is amazingly simple. These two wheels are mounted on separate axles and supported by a frame so that they can revolve freely at different speeds. Let's fasten a spoke on the inner end of each axle so that by turning the spokes, we can turn each wheel separately. With a bar or crosspiece, we can turn both wheels in the same direction at the same rate of speed.
Which is where we're at right now if they were just connected. But I'm assuming a lot of levers and gears are going to come into this one. Also, Crin, you just called your family a bunch of gearheads? Yes. Yes, I did. They are absolutely and utterly addicted to working on vehicles. And I'm not just saying cars. I mean vehicles. Airplanes, ships, motorcycles, bicycles. Hell, one of my brothers learned how to weld because they wanted to make their own hot rod as a bicycle. It did not work because of the entire thing I mentioned about too long extension for the front wheel. But yeah, no, they are literally, utterly addicted to mechanical work with vehicles.
Let's get something to hold this bar in place so that it will press against the spokes. Notice that this support is not locked to the axle. It turns freely.
Oh.
Now, we can spin the wheels by rotating the support. This is fine, as long as both wheels are able to turn at the same speed. But
you would need to include some way for one of them to miss for a slower movement. Or the easier one might be for one of them to go faster. Maybe that's how they do it.
Let's see what happens when we go around the corner.
Also, Crin, I called my family gearheads and I never learned any of this? Yeah. Because I just didn't enjoy it. And all of the rest of them never needed to be taught because they utterly wanted to learn it and learned all of it anyways on their own.
With this arrangement, we cannot drive one wheel faster than the other. And if we stop one wheel...
Also, Taryn, basically anything that's mechanically considered a vehicle they are crazy about, yes. I have videos where my dad, after he retired from working on planes, including in Lockheed Martin, that was many years ago, nothing new, was in a transport ship in Lake Erie where he was doing the overnight shift. I don't think he's doing it anymore, so I could probably talk about that safely. And he brought in the pictures of the internal under the bridge sections. Not under bridge, like the under keel that would technically be below the waterline and all the different pump works and all of the different sections leading into both the boiler rooms or whatever, not the boiler rooms, but like all of the mechanical components and just some of the underneath sections where you weren't normally allowed to see, but he was making sure the ship was whole. And because he was paid to just make sure someone was always on the ship while it was technically still floating out of dry dock. And the crazy stuff from that. Yeah, they're obsessed with anything mechanical.
Wheel. The other wheel won't budge. Let's put this bar on a pivot. so that it can swing in either direction. Now, the bar can still turn both wheels at the same speed. And because it pivots, it lets one wheel turn even when the other is stopped. But if turned too far, the bar will swing around until it won't drive the spokes that turn either wheel.
Because they're at the same level.
We need another crossbar and more spokes to carry on the job. When we stop one wheel, the crossbars will continue to push the spokes of the free wheel around. As long as both wheels are free to turn, the bars do not swing on their pivot, and the wheels move at the same speed.
Because something is still catching on either side. It's basically taking the gears from the transmission, turning them sideways, and then working on them not moving to then move the power forward. As what we see right now, what will eventually be the movement will come from this moving them, I'm assuming.
Now we have the working principles of a differential. To adapt the model for use in an automobile, we will have to make a few changes.
It would have to be somehow controlling which one doesn't get more. Probably has to do with braking, so it automatically is slowed down somehow.
In order to reduce the
again?
jerky action caused by wide spaces between the spokes, we will put in more spokes.
Literally just turning them into gears.
Further filling in the spaces between the spokes gives steadier, more continuous action.
Yep. Huh. So does the power come from this actually going around rather than this turning in the center?
And changing the shape gives firm, constant contact.
Oh no, this would have to be that they're both spinning, but they're still allowed to move on their own speeds, so they're connected to the ground. They're not getting direct power through this then. Or are they?
Now we can make the gears thicker and stronger. And we have differential gears. The edges are cut so that they will fit together more smoothly and silently. And another gear is added to share the work of driving the axles.
Okay.
The principle is the same. In order to turn the support and drive the wheels, we can fasten a large gear here, connected by a smaller gear to a source of power. Notice that the power is connected to the differential at the center line. We can make our model more compact by moving the gears closer together.
The difference between one to the next is kind of shocking. Like, this is a very easy to understand one because it's so big, but then, yeah, you cut that in, you can barely see the differences, but it's also very contained. And all the ball bearings around here just to make sure things spin easier. Oh, dude. It's all levers and gears, man.
When we put our differential in an automobile, we have to leave room for the drive shaft, which carries the power from the engine.
Oh.
We may build the floor of the car above the drive shaft. But
You're shafting that
if
one.
we do, we won't have much room inside unless we make the top of the car high too.
What?
Of course, we could lower the floor and ceiling, but the drive shaft would be higher than the floor. This would have disadvantages.
Isn't this something that cars got around by just having humps separating left and right side? There's probably some variations that did that.
A shaft in the middle of the floor of an automobile would be inconvenient for passengers.
I'm sorry, did someone actually build a car with an open drive shaft through the middle of it? I want to say this is a mock-up. I really want to say this is a mock-up. I'm not sure this is a mock-up. This seems like the easiest OSHA violation I've ever seen.
Passengers and would be awkward for carrying luggage. Today, engineers have found a way to make the car.
And also it's completely flat through the center. even my current cars, yeah, like my car and my wife's, I don't think they have completely flat undersides.
Roomier and closer to the road without a clumsy shaft above the floor.
Don't you just hate when you have to get more room because your shaft is so clumsy? Hi, everyone. I'm 5 years old, and apparently I'm demonstrating it.
The drive shaft from the engine to the differential is lowered out of the way, and the drive shaft
Angled.
is connected to the rear axle at the bottom. The new low center drive makes the rear axle quieter, stronger, and more durable because it gives better, smoother contact between the gears.
Oh.
The automobile of today with the low center drive is stronger and
You can actually just see that lower bulge right at the back of it. I'm just thinking going over one pothole, it just drops down and you suddenly lose the gear shaft on a rock. Oh, also, hey, Mike Leotis, up.
more rugged. Every part of the rear axle has been built to withstand strain
The fuck?
far greater than it will ever meet on the straightaway or around the corner.
They put giant, looks like corks on the edge. What? Why? I'm sorry, is there no one driving the car? Old school stunts, man. Inside wheel. Outside wheel. If someone tried to do this now outside of a circus, I think whoever was in charge of safety would just go, I'm going to shoot you for everyone's safety. Is there like a joke going around somewhere where a jam handy is not just an innuendo for exactly what you think it is, but for doing some kind of crazy stunts in ways that sound silly and look silly, but at the same time, if you fuck it up, will kill you? Oh, God. Also, Mike, your first message would ask if you're done reacting to part 6 of the TF2 comic. I'm not sure if we did part 6. I think it was part 5 today. We did do one of them already. All right, and the next one up is the vacuum control. Chevrolet Motor Division. General Motors Sales Corporation presents vacuum control. If anyone else wonders if it sounds off, yeah, it's not just you.
Science tells us that thunder is caused by a tremendous...
It's also literally just in 1 year. This is a 1938, though, so it's a very old film.
vacuum.
Also, wave. I think Jam Handy is the name of the company that produced the film. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It even said Jam Handy Production. But who chooses that name? Or is it one of those things where the slang has changed so incredibly different? Yeah. Also, wave. That's a way for differential speed wheels to be visualized. Yep, makes sense. But also...
A lightning bolt heats the air in its path, causing it to expand and leave behind just a space
Ozone?
where the air used to be. Waves of air rushing in to fill the empty space produce...
Oh, when they're talking about vacuum control, they're talking about literally the vacuum of lacking things in an area. Okay. I thought it was going to be like a vacuum effect of sucking things in instead. Okay.
the actual sound of thunder. This tendency of air to rush into empty spaces is also one of the principal causes of storms.
They're talking about this tendency of air. No, this is fluid dynamics, isn't it? Not just air, but like water does a similar thing. When there's an empty gap, you fill it. Hell, even rocks do that, although to a much slower extent.
The air around us exerts a pressure on every square inch of surface exposed to it. In the weather forecasting stations, sensitive instruments show that this atmospheric pressure varies occasionally.
Are those just barometers? Yeah, because if they're doing pressure, it's literally a barometric pressure.
Because of local weather conditions. When the pressure in one locality becomes temporarily lower, the weatherman knows that winds will blow as great masses of air rush in to fill up the space.
Oh, is this before radar? I want to pull this up because I know a lot of radar is used right now to try and plot out what's about to happen. When did radar in Weather forecasting start. Okay, wait, did I actually not misspell a single word? Holy shit. 1941 to 42. Weather radar, also known as weather surveillance radar, or Doppler weather radar, is a rare technology. During World War II. Yeah. First Brigade Air Force, later for MIT. Oh, shit. So what we're talking about is weather done prior to radar becoming the way to just find out what storms are coming in. So they were actually just plotting down in, here's the pressure here, going onto the map, finding out where you are, probably then radio or telegraphing or calling in everything around you so people could plot out the pattern based on the information you have of where things are higher or lower pressures.
Special maps are made to chart these variations in pressure, to help trace the paths of winds, which may carry rain or snow. These low pressure areas are created naturally. We all see illustrations of the
Yeah, and we already track high and low pressure formats here. I guess that would carry through regardless. So there's probably something similar, like here's the local one, send it to the next station. Except with the internet and connectivity, it's probably a lot easier.
Of artificially produced low pressures in our daily lives. When we drink through a straw, for instance, suction on the straw creates a partial vacuum so that the air pressure in the straw and in our mouths is less than the normal air pressure on the surface of the liquid in the bottle. This difference in pressure forces the liquid up to fill the empty space inside of the straw.
Can we not focus on the child sucking? Thank you very much. I know it's a straw in a Coke. It's a straw in a Coke bottle. Everything about my sentence sounds wrong. Who uses a straw for a Coke bottle? That's like getting a sippy cup and then putting a straw in it. Okay, sure.
By drawing in air, the smoker reduces the pressure inside his cigar. The
That's an old
normal
reference.
air pressure on the outside.
Tell me you're an old video without telling me you're an old video. Casually just showing a cigar.
Forces the smoke through the cigar and into his mouth. When the rubber disc of a suction cup is flattened, the air is forced out. When the cup
Why do we not still have these? Oh, because suction cups eventually have the physical material breakdown. You have to replace them and leave behind stains, so they're annoying. That's why.
springs back to shape, it forms a hollow space with very little air in it. The normal pressure on the outside of the cup holds it against the wall with considerable force. In an airplane, the rapid movement of the wing through the air causes differences in pressure. The shape of the wing and the angle at which it is set causes the air rushing past it to crowd against the lower surface, increasing the pressure under the wing.
Because there's less above you, so it's drawn up. It's kind of crazy how this stuff works, man.
For the same reason, the air rushing past the upper surface leaves a gap and lowers the pressure on top of the wing. The difference between...
Also, of all the planes they could have used, really? Is this a spruce goose? Odd choice, but sure, why not?
Between the high pressure under and the low pressure above forces the plane upward. Scientists say that most of the lift is due to the extremely low pressure or partial vacuum on the upper surface. Although even the most advanced science has not been able to produce a perfect vacuum or space in which there is nothing at all.
I mean, technically, you can do space where there's nothing. It's just that it's a tiny space within the entire area you're trying to get to vacuum. For example, outer space is not a perfect vacuum. There is still matter up there. It's very spread out to like inches and feet. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's still there. It's just so minute and so empty by comparison as to be functionally just a vacuum. And that's just within the solar system. I think there actually might be even less particles per foot when you get beyond the solar shrouds. I'm not using the right word there, but it's functionally the same thing. The area where solar particles actually do kind of lose speed Not like the light aspect, not the radiation, but the actual particles cast off by the sun as well. There's a lot of crazy things going on, man.
The next to nothingness we call a partial vacuum can be produced and controlled. We can create a partial vacuum if we first fill a glass tube with mercury to drive out the air. When the tube is upended, with mercury,
$1938. 1938. That's an entire tube of mercury that he's stopping with his ungloved hand. You know, mercury, the thing that is absorbed through your skin and does brain damage. This man is not going to be a scientist for long. Yeah. Oh, also, and wait, the spruce goose would have been like twice the size of that? Probably. Just a flying boat in general. That makes sense. And real. Black holes would probably be the closest to being a void, how dense they are. No, actually, it's quite the opposite. A black hole is hyper dense. That's actually why it has extra matter. In fact, it's the exact opposite of a void. It is hyper compression. There is a lot of matter in there ever being sucked in. We can't see it, but it only exists because there is a lot. So it's actually the exact opposite of a void. It's, well, it's a hole that everything drains into. So there's an ecstatic amount of it. Unless you mean the exact opposite of a void and how it acts as drawing things in based on pressure, as opposed to the void or the vacuum, which draws things up based on needing to fill a lack of pressure. Yeah, it's kind of funny, but same effect, different reasoning. Vacuum is movement based on needing to go to where there's less, where gravity and black holes are getting motion based on needing to go where there is more.
To drive out the air. When the tube is upended, the mercury falls.
Also, I'm being told by Corinne this is just 2 years after Marie Curie died from radiation poisoning. Though mercury's largest danger is when it becomes vapor and inhaled. I mean, with that much mercury around, he makes one slip, it's going in his mouth and everywhere else.
Leaving an almost empty space at the top. The mercury remaining in the tube is held in place by the weight of air pressing on the surface of the mercury in the dish. If normal air pressure in one side of a U-shaped tube is increased by pushing a piston down, the pressure will force the mercury up in the other arm. When we pull
Why
the
is it
piston
all
up,
mercury?
we reduce the pressure. Normal air pressure on the other end will force...
Probably because it was very easy to see on camera, and if it was water, it might not be visible.
...the mercury back again in the opposite direction. A suction pump can be used to remove most of the air over a piston in a glass cylinder. Normal air pressure trying to fill the partial vacuum exerts force enough to support a considerable weight. A great deal of progress has been made in the control of vacuum and in the use of vacuum to control other forms of power. In a player piano, a pair of bellows creates a partial vacuum. Holes in the music roll allow air from the outside to flow through different openings to fill this vacuum.
Wait, player pianos were powered by someone working pedals? I've never actually seen an old style player piano, so this is all brand new to me. I've seen them where they're fully electric. You just turn a switch and it just does it itself. Okay.
These streams of air move the hammers, which strike the different strings. In this heavy-duty vacuum cleaner, large fans lower the air pressure in a hose connected to the furnace. Normal air pressure rushing down the chimney carries with it the soot and dirt and forces them through the hose into a huge bag. This same vacuum...
Is that how they clean chimneys?
and forces them through the hose into a huge bag.
They sausaged the chimney. You know, there's words I never thought I would say, but I can't think of a better way to describe it. Okay. I guess it's better than a chimney sweep.
This same vacuum force is put to work in modern city post offices. Mail is placed in containers.
I've actually seen these vacuum tubes around sometimes. I think they're the coolest thing ever. Are they practical? I have no idea. I doubt it, but they look so cool. I would definitely put everything in the wrong slot.
Made to fit snugly into large pneumatic tubes.
Because it has to be airtight.
A partial vacuum ahead of the container permits normal air pressure behind the containers to force it through miles of tubing at lightning speed. So the power of empty space has greatly increased the efficiency of Uncle Sam's postal department.
I'm not sure if that's still used in the post office. I thought their current technology was getting things in crates and moving them on wheels by hand. But I also could be wrong about that because I've never worked in a post office.
And has made possible the delivery of letters and parcels in less time than ever before. The latest successful application of
Do you remember when the post office was supposed to be fast? Yeah.
partial vacuum to reduce work is in the automobile. Automotive engineers knew that the comfort and safety of the modern motor car could be increased by making it easier and more convenient to shift gears. The fundamental
Wait, vacuums were used in shifting. Not where I thought this was going to go. Okay.
operation of the gear shift lever is simple. When the knob on the shift lever is moved in one direction, the bottom of the lever moves in the opposite direction. The movement of the bottom of the lever causes the right gears inside the
Oh, I'm assuming there's an inherent delay, so there's less immediate connection between the gears and the crank or the shaft. Huh. It's probably adding like a motion based on the vacuum, but making it a little more smooth because there's a reaction delay.
transmission case to mesh with other gears to drive the car with the right speed. Now, suppose the gear shift lever is taken off the floor and moved to the most accessible, convenient position, right alongside the
I had a car, actually no, it was my family's van. When you have 3 brothers and a sister, the van helps. Yeah, but they had a van that had the shifter on the wheel still. It was automatic, thank God. But I hated that thing with a passion. It felt unnatural to shift in that thing. Even when you're doing automatic, it did not feel right. Everything they're showing right now, this is a crime against nature, and I hate it. I'm assuming the vacuum is actually a way to shorten this, so you're not applying direct pressure and letting the vacuum do the work of actually moving, in the same way that there's assisted steering.
the steering wheel. The method of shifting is the same. Although the lever has been turned on its side, there has been no change in the shifting movements. The next thing is to connect the shift lever to the gears themselves. A long rod connected to the bottom of the shift lever will transmit movement to a crank at the other end of the steering wheel post. And another rod and crank will carry the movement back to the gears.
Huh.
Now, when the shift lever is moved, the system of rods goes into action and selects the required gear. But this is only half the job. After the gear has been selected by the up and down movement of the shift lever, it has to be shifted into position so that it will mesh.
So more
Another
than one
rod is
axis.
needed to do this half of the job of shifting gears. And to make the system more compact, the second rod can be made hollow so that it will slip right over the rod already in place.
Huh.
To separate it,
Oh, so both rods were acting in the same capacity, but they could work over top each other. So it's not actually a container, it's just being able to occupy the same area. It's actually pretty cool.
this motion from the back and forth movement of the inner rods, this outer rod or tube can carry a twisting movement instead of a push-pull. The twisting motion of the
Give it
outer
3D
rod
access
will turn another crank at the bottom of the
for more
steering post.
vertices.
And this motion can be passed on to the lever, which does the actual shifting. With this arrangement, any movement of the gear shift lever carries a corresponding movement to the transmission.
It's like we've watched every step of this being pulled together, but actually seeing how they work all together is just still kind of crazy to get from point A to point B and then thinking you still miss point C, even though we never actually hit point C yet. Sorry, this kind of stuff is fun to me. I don't get a thing going on because I'm not an engineer. And this is specifically physical engineering, not like chemical or electrical or anything like that. It's just sheer on mechanical processes. It's so cool. And literally might count as lost lore someday if anything bad ever happens, because it's so obvious to the people who know it that it's probably not the most written down thing. Oh, God. Also, Kryn, there are some places that still use pneumatic delivery systems. Oh, shit. Also, Kryn, the new Gundam just dropped. I heard about it. I'm not sure when it comes out, but I saw pictures. It looks cool. And Wade mentioned vacuum-based technology, especially at this time, often relied on rubber tubing that would become brittle with age and probably then break any vacuum it had because air.
This is simple. The selection of gears is almost effortless, but the actual shifting takes a certain amount of work. A lever 2 feet long and moving 10 inches changes gears with ease, but a long lever on the steering post is inconvenient.
Yeah.
A shorter gear shifting lever is more convenient, but since the movement is shorter, more effort is required,
Levers,
especially in cold weather. The latest development is to let the normal air pressure of the air around us do the actual work of shifting the gears. In an automobile engine, moving pistons act like pumps, creating a partial vacuum to draw fuel into the cylinders. A vacuum chamber connected to the intake makes use of this reduced pressure. A movable plunger divides the chamber into 2 separate sections. Now, when air is drawn out of one section of the chamber, lowering the pressure, the normal pressure in the other section will drive the plunger, exerting force on every square inch of its surface.
So this type of shifting was based on triggering various plungers to create a vacuum to move the gears or to move the shifter instead of doing it yourself so you can have smaller, more compact ones. So it's basically assisted shifting through using vacuums to abuse that as a way to make things easier. Yeah, that works.
By reversing the operation, the plunger is forced back in the opposite direction. A sliding valve controls the action with the slightest movement of the shift lever. The plunger is connected so that it transmits force directly to the lever that engages and disengages the gears.
I wonder if all of them were vacuums with air or if there was other mediums like liquids brought in because they might be more reactive and less prone to compression.
With so little effort required to shift the gears and with a minimum of movement, the gear shift control lever can be brought down to a still more convenient size. The power of vacuum permits a shorter lever moving a shorter distance. The hand merely applies the power and vacuum does 80% of the work of gear shifting. Again, engineering design has moved forward. Driving has been made easier for everyone. The power of vacuum shifting the gears makes fingertip control possible. With a minimum of effort, the driver is able to keep control of the car at all times and to shift gears at will according to actual driving needs.
Where the hell do they find a countryside like this to drive in? I'm used to way more hilly terrain, though, so I'm not the right person to ask, apparently.
A flip of the finger, and in second gear, steep grades are taken, with the car in perfect control.
Because prior to this, you'd have to fight against the gears on top of everything else, wouldn't you? If there was no active help for it. It'd be like trying to move the steering wheel. That's why it has to be so wide, because you're applying more force, or getting more force out of a larger leverage section. Yeah, that would do it. Also, Wave, there's a lot of vacuum stuff in older cars that is done electronically nowadays. There might have been hydraulic shifters. Would have been more expensive to build and maintain, though. Yeah, because any leak is its own problem. It's so weird seeing everything in black and white. That is unironically a very sharp curve. Would only take it at 50.
No muscular effort is required. There's just enough resistance to let the driver sense the feel and timing of the gears.
The idea of feeling that through the shift itself, yeah. It's such a weird thing for someone who's used to driving automatics. It's like, oh yeah, you get an idea of when to shift based explicitly on the feel of trying to move the gear shift itself.
With this modern easy shifting, another improvement for safety has been made in the newest automobiles. The emergency brake has been moved up out of the way and conveniently located on the dashboard.
Oh, that's where they started doing that? Okay, no, I prefer foot-based, if anything, or even just emergency brake in the center. I hate it when it's in the dashboard. Oh God, I hate that so much. Mostly because I've hit it multiple times. I was looking around for wherever the release for the trunk is on multiple cars, and it never was actually there, but I hit that. It's like, oh, why is the car not moving now? Okay, maybe this is just a me problem, but it's happened often enough that I get annoyed by it.
There is greater convenience for today's motorists than ever before. Taking the control levers from the floor has made more room and more comfort.
Is it just a thing where people would get in the passenger side and then walk over inside the vehicle to drive it? Oh, that just seems so weird. Like, you don't do this in most cars right now because there's definitely not enough room. But I guess much bigger areas for storage at the feet is a thing in this era. It looks so weird, though.
For the driver and front seat passengers. And
Bench
because
seating,
we
though.
can now enter and leave the car.
Or even just having a toddler in the front. Also, I don't think there's seatbelts. Oh, wow. Yeah, again, 1938. Things were different, man.
The side away from the traffic, greater safety for all.
Oh, jeez. And we got just a handful more pieces in here. We got the robotic arm and America versus European exterior doors.